one hiding under your bed, teeth ground sharp and eyes glowing red.
First time I've ever seen something, I was around 8. I was outside in the street, playing with my friends and wanted to go home to get some toys. There was a power blackout in the whole building, so I had to take the stairs. Between every 2 levels, we have half levels which have either a garbage tube or a dryer room. While the half levels with garbage tubes have windows, those with the dryer room are completely dark if the door is closed, which it was. I was at the 2nd floor, and as I placed my foot on the first stair to the half level, I see a white orb flying slowly towards me. It was completely dark there, and as it flew by me and around the corner, it disappeared. I followed it, but it was gone. At this 2nd floor, there was an abandoned apartment. It had the number 11. I asked my parents many times who lived there, but they said the owner was an old lady who died. The apartment was just odd. The whole level would give you chills, but being around it was really strange. Being a curious child, I started to investigate the apartment. I'd sometimes knock at the door, then hide, but no one would ever answer. One evening, I was right outside the building entrance with 2 friends, and one friend's grandma, and I hear the interphone sound like a button was pressed. As I turn around, I see 11 appear on the interphone, and then it starts ringing. I got scared and pressed the X button right away. Everyone saw what happened, even the grandma. After that, we all stand in front of the interphone, and around 10 minutes later, it happens again. The button 1 was pressed twice, and it starts ringing. I don't stop it this time, but no one answered. Next to apartment 11 lived a nice old lady. Her interphone number was 12. She would often complain to my parents that children knock at her door, ring her interphone, and stick gum on her door. But we never did anything to her. I always thought she was hearing the knocking from next door and mistaking it for her door. She told me she had no connection to apartment 11 and didn't know who the owner was. Even months after we stopped messing around with apartment 11, she kept complaining she heard knocking and didn't believe us. And then one night, a few years ago, as I was coming home, I got the scare of my life. We have motion sensor lights on every floor. On my floor, it's kind of broken. Most of the time, it wouldn't sense me moving, and I did not bother to make the light turn on. I could open my door in total darkness just fine. So it was like 12 a.m. and I was trying to fit the key into the hole in total darkness when I get a strange feeling. Suddenly, the sensor lights turn on, which barely does when I flip my hands in front of it. And on the other side of the hallway, I see a black figure with no face. It somehow reminded me of the Grudge, but it didn't seem human at all. My luck, the key was already in the hole, cause it was approaching me. I ran inside, shut the door, locked it, and didn't sleep all night. I never dared to look through the peephole. Never saw it after, but I always rush inside really fast now, and I always turn on the light as soon as I exit the elevator.
A little background about myself. I am not the person to think every noise in the middle of the night is a ghost, and I don't have an overactive imagination like that. I am also a total amateur when it comes to what type of paranormal stuff is out there. But I grew up Christian in a house that had activity throughout my childhood by a non-threatening presence. I have never felt uncomfortable and targeted like I do now since moving into our new apartment. Me and my girlfriend and our roommates moved in 9 months ago, and right away we had 10 to 15 experiences in the first few months. Things slowed down after we saged, and my mom always prayed over our dwelling and doorways. My mom passed away a month ago, and since then the activity has ramped up to higher levels than it was when we first moved in. It's gotten to the point that I'm just looking for any input as to what may be happening here and how to get rid of it, because we're going through enough as it is and we can't even get a good night's sleep at this point. When we first moved in, my girlfriend and I were repeatedly awoken around 4 a.m. from noises, creaks, and scratches coming from the corner of our room that borders our balcony and outside. I would hear whispered conversations coming from that corner in the middle of the night. When I was playing video games there, I could hear it even with my headset on, and it was completely inaudible from anywhere else inside, outside of our apartment. We would also hear a lot of noises coming from our closet, which is where I personally feel the most uneasy. This is where it gets to be too obvious to ignore. After multiple nights of being woken up around 4 is when we told my mom. The following day at 4:30 p.m. I was washing dishes, and I see our front door slowly creep open and stay cracked for 3 seconds before closing. I ran right after whoever I just tried to get in, and nothing. Mind you, we live in the apartment with a long hallway and always hear when people are walking down the hall. Nobody there. Next day, I was telling my roommates about what happened, and at the same moment, at 4:30 p.m. again, our front door knob slowly turned open, but our deadbolt was locked, and the door jiggled a few times loudly. I sprinted with all of my being to see if there was someone in the hallway this time, and I made it out the door within seconds, and there was no body. I would have heard someone sprinting to get out of eyesight by the time I got there. Well, turns out my mom let me know she prayed over all of our doorways that no spirits or unwanted beings could enter our living space. I think whatever was bothering us got expelled and was trying to get back in. Fast forward 7 months. Things have been quiet for the most part. My mother's health declined and we had to go down to be with her. She passed while we were there, and since then the activity has been through the roof. I don't know if it's the grief or what, but we really have bad energy around us. This is what has gone down since coming back to the apartment 2 weeks ago. 1, a loud scratch at the door right when my girlfriend turned the light out for bed, which sounded like our dog. Both our dogs and I were not back at this point. She saw a big shadow at the door and her legs went numb. 2, knocks and creaks coming nightly from the same corner as when we first moved in. 3, voices while showering and feeling a dark shadow present right behind us when we are near our closet. 4, this one is why I'm making this whole post to begin with. I work from home, and on Wednesdays when I get off work, there was a perfect oval pile of these white flaky chips sitting on top of my dresser on some stickers I had placed there the night before. They were also scattered at the doorway entering our room. These were very thin, 1 to 2 centimeter big flakes of what looked like paint chips. They broke easy and reminded me of a 3D printer plastic texture-wise. When we threw it away, there is no explanation as to how that perfect pile of unknown flakes appeared there, while I was literally feet away working all day. It's not even like there is any paint or anything missing in our room. Number 5. This brings us to last night. Last night we saged the living hell out of our apartment and prayed over all the doorways. We even put a line of kosher salt at our front door. I watched 3 seasons of Supernatural. After having done that, we felt much better. That it was until my girl was woken up at 2 a.m. to knocks and creaks and other noises coming from the same corner again. I wish I had photo-video evidence, but I wasn't even planning on looking for help. If it helps, I live in Arizona on Old Resland. Ask me anything.
Some background information. My apartments have a cemetery halfway through the apartment complex. To explain it better, when you enter through the main entrance and start making your way around the apartments, halfway you will see a long driveway to your right with a big gate, which is the entrance to another long driveway, and at some point you will pass the gate to the cemetery, as well as having the view of some other apartment complex. I believe that maybe the cemetery had something to do with our paranormal experiences, due to the fact that it's weird that there is a random small cemetery in the middle of our apartments. So this story is from my mum's point of view. When I was around 5, I had a big Winnie the Pooh stuffed animal that I loved a lot. So during the time I would go to school, my mum was a stay-at-home mum, and while she would clean the house, she would always put Pooh on top of our TV, and our TV sat on top of a tall shelf that sat inside her room, and for some reason when she would go do other chores around the house, Pooh would end up somewhere on the couch or on the floor. Sometimes she couldn't remember if she forgot to put Pooh on top of the TV, which drove her crazy. Other times when I would be home, sometimes I would pop out playing with Pooh, but she would find it odd as, like I mentioned, she would place Pooh on a tall shelf. So obviously I couldn't have reached it, as I was only like probably 4 foot. And after a few times of this, repeating itself, she threw Pooh in the trash and blessed the house. Also, the only memory I remember of Pooh is that I would always talk to him inside my mum's dark closet with only a flashlight, which I don't know if it's normal or not. I think the first time this happened was in 2017. I'd go out onto the balcony late at night to smoke weed and noticed almost every night a baby would cry really loud. Didn't think much about it or care. It was just annoying and seemed like it was coming from outside. Fast forward to the summer of 2019, when I was paying attention to the sounds of my neighborhood at night. I noticed how weird it is that there's always one neighbor that has a baby who cries so loud. The cry sounds like the one a newborn would make, so I thought they must be different children. Fast forward to one summer night of 2020. I couldn't sleep, and around 2 a.m, I hear a woman screaming outside. I run to the balcony to check and heard male voices laughing, and again, a scream. I couldn't see them, but as I was getting ready to yell at them, I hear the woman running, and then silence. They didn't follow. So I stood there for like 30 minutes, panicked to see if I hear any other noise and wondering if I should call the police. I was getting ready to go back to sleep when I hear a baby crying really loud. The cry sounded like it was coming from the outside of the building in front of mine, but I couldn't see anyone there. Then I hear the cry moving really fast, as if it was running around my neighborhood. I was really confused at that point and thought maybe it was a cat, but I never heard a cat in my life to mimic the cry of a child so well. It kept crying as it went further and further away from my building. Then it went silent. That's when I started paying attention to it. The next time I heard it, a friend was over, and he noticed it as well. It was around 12 a.m. at the time, and he thought it was weird for a baby to be outside at that hour. So we went to the balcony to check. To my surprise, the sound was moving again, but it was moving on top of the buildings. It sounded like it was flying. I've heard it a few times after that, including yesterday night. What makes the cry really strange is the fact that it's always been the same tone and sounds like a newborn. Edit. The only animals in my area are stray cats, and my first thought was that it could be a cat in heat, but it isn't. The wah is too defined, and sometimes it coughs like it's choking with its own crying, the way any crying baby does. Also, if you listen to a cat in heat long enough, it would betray its nature and sound like a cat. This baby cries for 10 minutes without stop. If it was a cat, it would do a mistake sooner or later. This story will be from my neighbor and mum's point of view. So, some background information. I used to live in my apartment for 18 years. In the same second floor apartment, so obviously over the years we've had different neighbors moving in and out. But one lot of neighbors that we kinda knew was our downstairs neighbors, and it was this lady, Sandra, and her family. So this encounter happened during the day. I was in school at the time, and since my mum was pregnant, she and my little sister, who was around 2, had gone to a hospital appointment. So from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m, no one was home. During the time that no one was home, my neighbor could hear someone running back and forth. And if you've ever lived in an apartment, you know how annoying it is. She got irritated and decided to go confront my mum about the running. Once upstairs, she knocked a few times, and all she could hear from the inside of the apartment is, "I'm coming." But it sounded as if my mum was saying it, so she waited. But no one opened the door. Then she proceeded to give a few knocks the second time, and all she could hear was, "I'm coming." She waited again, but no one opened the door. And in the third set of knocks, she felt someone tap her shoulder. And as soon as this happened, she felt all the hairs on her back stand up. She proceeded to turn around, but no one was there. As soon as she realized no one was there, she ran downstairs. Later on in the week, she told my mum what happened. And my mum reassured her that no one was home at that time. Also last year, a different downstairs neighbor had also told us how he could hear us walking upstairs at 3 a.m. And since my neighbor suffers from insomnia, he would be awake around that time. Anyways, he found it odd since it was literally 3 a.m. on a weekday. Our neighbor told my mum about this incident, but she reassured him we were all asleep. Side note, my apartments were old, so that's why it was so easy to hear people walking around.
My name is Eve, and I just moved into a new apartment. I've been here for 6 months, and it's been horrible. I'm pretty sure it's haunted, and some of my family and friends think so too. I just wanted to share some experiences and see what other people who I don't know think. Kind of like an outside perspective, I guess. I'll just list off different experiences below. Layout. The way the apartment is set up is when you first come in, there's a closet to the right, in front of the front door. Then there's the living room, with a balcony, and then the dining room. In front of the dining room is the kitchen. In the living room, there's a small hallway. The first door on the left is the bathroom. The next one down is the second bedroom. Across from the second bedroom is the first, my room. So that's the whole layout. Number 1, the bathroom. I've recently started using the bathroom only during the day. The reason for this is because I no longer feel safe in that portion of the apartment. I've stopped sleeping in my bedroom. I moved my mattress out to the living room area behind the couch. Whenever I even start to go down the hall, I instantly feel uncomfortable, like I'm not supposed to be there. I feel like I have to rush and hurry up whatever I'm doing so I can get out of there. At first I thought it was just me, but when my friend, let's call her Paris, comes over, she never uses the bathroom. When I asked her why, she told me she feels like she shouldn't be going down there, that she doesn't feel welcome. I've had 3 other people say almost the same thing to me. In a way, it's helped. I don't feel as crazy, but it's also made me more scared because now I know it's not just me. Number 2, whenever I'm in the living room, I always feel like I'm being watched, always from the same direction, the area by the front door. Last week, I waited until I felt like I was being watched, and I took a picture on my phone. On the picture, it looks like an older man standing in the closet. Number 3, me and my friend Paris were sitting on my mattress in the living room, watching TV and doing our nails. We were talking about whatever is in my apartment, and she goes, "I want to see something." I was upset and I told her not to say that. She said sorry, and we kind of just focused on the TV. Like 5 minutes later, a candle on the window frame in the dining room falls off. No windows were open. I don't own a fan, and even if it was the wind, it was one of those big Walmart candles and the thick glass holders. It wasn't on the edge. The window frame ledges are kind of long. I have pictures on some of them. Number 4, I always hear what it sounds like someone walking around in my bedroom. 2 other people have heard it. The second person to hear it, I had never told about having a ghost or anything in my apartment. He tried to play it off, but he was so freaked out, he left. Number 5, I've been so terrified that I can't sleep at night. I stay up all night and take naps throughout the day. Everything is worse at night. How the hallway feels during the day seems to stretch to the rest of the apartment at night. Even if I try to sleep at night, I keep waking up to what feels like someone tapping me. Sometimes during the day, if I'm taking a nap, it feels like someone wakes me up. There's a difference between waking up on your own and knowing when someone else is waking you up. That's what it feels like. Number 6, I had a friend of mine stay with me because of everything, but I didn't tell her what it was really for. I just told her I wanted company. This was about 2 days ago. I got home from work and she had all of her stuff ready. She sat me down and said she thinks I should move. She said first of all it felt like someone was tapping her, and that's how she woke up. She thought it was me. She said she was a little weirded out, but brushed it off. She said she heard what sounded like someone walking around my room. She opened the door and looked around and didn't see anything. So went to the bathroom, and when she was walking out, she saw what looked like someone tall standing in the center of the room with their back to her. This was when she packed up all of her stuff and decided to leave. These are just some instances. Something that's really scaring me is that I keep waking up with random bruises and scratches. I keep my natural nails kinda long, so I thought it was just me scratching myself in my sleep. But my mom said that Catholics believe that's the sign of possession. This isn't a joke. I'm actually looking for real advice, or for explanations. I don't know how to put up photos, so if someone could help me with that, I'll put up the closet picture.
Can't exactly tell when it first started because my place has been haunted for as long as I can remember. But a few months ago, I started getting some really strange dreams. I'd wake up in my room in total darkness and feel the worst unexplained fear, feeling like something is right there watching me. Then I'd wake up and realize it was just a dream, and my room isn't as dark as I thought it was. Then it got worse. From once every few months, it went to once or twice every month. And every time the dream advanced. First, I tried to turn on my floor lamp, and when I did, I woke up. Then the floor lamp stopped working in the dream, so I'd use my phone light. Then that stopped working as well, so I'd have to either turn on the switch on the wall or get out of the room to be able to wake up. These experiences got worse since Halloween. and I started to get other types of activity as well. On Halloween night, I was home alone with my friend and the light was on in the kitchen. We heard the light switch turning off, so we thought thieves got in and got really scared and called another friend. When he got here, we realized everything was fine. Just the light switch was off. Since then, I got more activity, switches turning off when I am home alone, doors shutting and opening in the middle of the night. A damn candle was lit on fire out of nowhere one night, and the dreams got worse and worse. So I started keeping track of the time and noticed it's always between 4:50 and 5 a.m. Only once it was 5:50 a.m., but I was sleeping in a different room. The dreams got worse and worse since last month when I moved the bed to another place in my room. They are now followed by sleep paralysis and seeing dark shadows when I wake up. Last night I had insomnia, so I couldn't sleep until 4 a.m. when I took a melatonin pill just because I didn't want 4:50 a.m. to catch me awake. As I was falling asleep, I had my eyes just a little bit open, enough to see my room and see a human-looking like shadow coming out of the wall next to my bed and crossing my room. When it got out of my view, I jumped and turned on the floor light, but nothing was there. I had the feeling I was watched and also the unexplained fear. It was 4:10 a.m. Today, my mother was in the kitchen with her friends and a glass exploded out of nowhere. She is extremely skeptical about stuff like this, but I told her everything and she wants to call a priest. Turns out, she's been woken up at 5 a.m. every night too. Hello watchers and listeners, thank you so much for watching. As always, a big thank you to all of the Reddit users who kindly allowed me to use their stories. If you want to help support this channel, you will find links to both my Patreon and my Teespring store in the description below. So feel free to have a look. And the biggest thank you to all of you who continue to support me. I truly do appreciate it. And remember,
Papa loves you.